International reaction is still coming in as Iranian state TV now confirms that the supreme leader is dead. Joining us now is New York Times columnist Nicholas Kristof, who has reported from Iran over the years. Nicholas, thank you so much for joining us. You write in your op-ed published today in the New York Times that you fear we haven't thought through the substantial risks and uncertain gains. Expand on that for me. I mean, what do you think are the potential risks in this region as it relates, and especially since there is no clear plan on what exactly comes next?
Yeah, Rachel. Well, good to be with you. Look, any military intervention, you weigh the benefits against the costs. And I guess that in terms of benefits, they're sort of uncertain. The idea of actually overturning the regime in Iran is, I think, very ambitious. It is, one thing to kill the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, and that may indeed lead to change. But the regime has prepared for his death. There are other people who are in line to succeed him. It is possible that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps would succeed him, sort of military coup, which would perhaps be worse. And so I'm skeptical of the benefits of war with Iran. And then I look at the costs, and with any war, you obviously have risk of loss of life to the 40,000 U.S. service people we have in the region. You have a risk of closure or impediments to oil passing through the Strait of Hormuz, which carries about 20% of world's oil. And it's not obvious what the off-ramp is if the regime does not topple. To me, it seems like a dangerous venture that was not worth it.
Yeah, there's a lot of big questions ahead. I mean, you also wrote in your op-ed, some wars are necessary by contrast. This is a war of choice. Are you concerned about the impacts on Americans here in the U.S. and essentially around the world, too?
So one of the open questions is whether Iran will turn to terrorism to make America pay a price. I think that the White House feels that, in the past it has attacked Iran or attacked Iranian interests, and Iran has not particularly responded strongly. That was the case when President Trump killed Qasem Soleimani, a IRGC leader, back in 2020. And it was also the case last year when the U.S. bombed Iran. But this time, Iran seems to feel that it needs to reestablish deterrence and really make the U.S. and Gulf countries pay a price so that they will be less likely to engage in this kind of war. And so to that end, Iran does have assets around the world, including in the U.S., that it could encourage to turn to terrorist targets. Will that happen? We don't know, but it's something that I think the intelligence community is concerned about.
Yeah, we were just seeing some new video that U.S. Central Command posted launching the strike, saying that they delivered swift and decisive action. You've reported from Iran over the years. What are the groups that could compete with the regime for power?
So I think that now, especially that Ayatollah Khamenei is dead, that one thing everybody watching is the security forces and whether they decide that actually they want to control the country. And in particular, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, is, they have the guns. They would be well positioned to try to do that. They are a really malign influence and would in many ways continue Iran's, malign policies. It's also possible that the country could split up. It's made of many different ethnicities, and there is some real fracturing. So that is something that I think, especially countries in the region, are concerned about. Now, it's also possible that there will be a democratic revolution, and we'll see something happen in Iran like what we saw in Syria, and people rise up and take over as President Trump would like. That is also possible. One of the challenges there is that there are a lot of incredibly brave Democratic activists. I mean, some of these women lawyers are just heroic, but they're not unified. They haven't been able to be unified, and they don't have the guns. So I think that is something of a long shot.
Yeah, really interesting perspective. Nicholas, we so appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us.